Picture yourself living 20,000 years ago. There was nothing you could really do to control nature. Nature was mysterious, it was unknown, it was unpredictable. The hunter-gatherers that lived at the time didn't understand the causes of natural phenomena that we today take for granted. Storms, earthquakes, eclipses. They depended on nature's generosity, but they also knew that nature could be deadly. So, in order to establish some sort of control, they attributed gods to nature. That way, they could have a sort of dialogue with nature, and thus a measure of control. Rituals were a way of establishing this dialogue with the gods. If they made the gods happy, the volcano wouldn't erupt, and storms wouldn't wipe out their livelihood. We can then trace the roots of religion to this necessity that we have to establish some sort of control with forces that are way more powerful than we are. This initial pantheistic relationship with nature slowly changed when civilization got started. Agricultural techniques got people to gather around fertile rivers in order to plant. Society needed rules and a sort of hierarchical control of power. So the Sumerians, the Babylonians, and the Egyptians developed a religious connection with nature where power came from above. In the case of the Egyptians, for example, the pharaohs were directly related to the sun. The oldest civilizations and the others that followed created a direct relationship with nature through myths. Myths establish how this connection between our world, the world of the senses, related to the divine world of the gods, where there was no time and no space, and the rules of nature just didn't apply. From the origin of the world and of life to solar eclipses, myths were a pre-scientific explanation for natural phenomena. They are narratives that try to make sense of the unknown with the unknowable, that is, with the unexplainable realm of the gods. While science is a narrative that tries to make sense of the unknown with the known. For example, if we jump to the Greeks and their rich mythology, the reason why the sun travels from east to west every day is because it is transported by the chariot of the god Helios. So that's a mythic explanation to a natural phenomenon. But it is also in Greece that there was a major transition in the way people thought about nature and our place in it. At about 6 centuries before Christ, or the 6th century BCE, before the Common Era, a group of people started to explain natural phenomena using rational explanations instead of mythic ones. The first one was Thales, who lived in the city of Miletus, which today belongs to Turkey. Thales would say that nature is always in flux, an ongoing transformation. He also believed that everything in the universe was made of one single element, water. Why water? Well, because water transforms itself into ice and into steam and merges into different shapes. To Thales, water represented symbolically all the potential transformations that we see in nature. This is the beginning of the philosophy of becoming, a philosophy of transformation, according to which nature is always in a state of flux. Thales is the first of the pre-Socratic philosophers, and it's important to mention here not just him, but 3 others, Anaximander, Pythagoras, and Parmenides. Anaximander was a student of Thales, and he was really remarkable because to him, the essential stuff of the universe was not something material like water, but something immaterial, which he called the boundless. He believed that matter somehow emerged from this boundless and went back to it in a constant state of flux and transformation. Today, we could call this boundless the vacuum of particle physics. Anaximander had another amazing idea, that the universe is a mechanism. Like everyone else at the time, he believed that the Earth was the center of the cosmos. But he thought there were wheels turning around the Earth, and the wheels had fire in them. The sun was a hole in a wheel that allowed the fire to come out. As the wheel turned, the sun traveled around the sky. Today, this may seem like kind of a silly model, but it's really brilliant because it's trying to create a mechanistic explanation for a natural phenomenon that before was attributed to myths. You can identify here the germs of the science that was to come 25 centuries later, the universe as a clockwork. Pythagoras lived at about the same time as Thales, but his philosophy was radically different. He thought that everything is number, and that the role of the philosopher was to crack the mysteries of nature by examining how numbers combine with one another. Pythagoras believed that every shape and every transformation in nature is encoded by numbers. You can see how influential his ideas still are, because in a sense, that is what science is all about, trying to figure out mathematically how nature works. Finally, I mentioned Parmenides. Parmenides had a completely different philosophy from Thales. To him, what was essential was that which didn't change, the eternal. Nature was not about becoming and transformation, it was about being, that is, that which is not changeable. If you're after the truth, you should be after those things that are eternal, things that do not change, what Parmenides called eon. The essential point here is that these folks were trying to make sense of nature using rational argumentation. They didn't know what reality was, but they tried to reason about it. What philosophers call ontology, the essential nature of being, or more practically, the nuts and bolts of existence, they attributed to different things: water, numbers, the boundless, eon. They were all trying to understand the essence of reality the best possible way they could. Both Pythagoras and Parmenides will greatly influence the man who really got the debate about the nature of reality going, Plato. It is then to Plato and his conception of reality that we now turn.